Hello, everyone. Welcome to World Combat Sports. It's fight week again, as always. And what better way to bring you the boxing talk? World Combat Sports. It's about that time once again. We have a hometown fight going down in Philly. Julian Williams versus Jeison Rosario. One of my favorite fighters. You know, I like his skill set, technical skill set, and the way he go in there and handle business. You know, straight to the point. Had to face extreme adversity back in 2016 against Jamal Charlo. And like J Rock said, don't banish a fighter all from one knockout. And that's real talk. Don't sit up here and banish a fighter, because there's been plenty of fighters and still is. You know, that has a single loss to their resume, but then they went on a win streak. To be honest, you know, J-Rock sitting at 27-1, 16 knockouts, and Jeison Rosario 19-1, 13 knockouts. If you look at the body of work between these two, of course, it's a slight disparity between J-Rock and Rosario, period. You know, him being in there with Nathaniel Gallimore, you know what I'm saying, Jamal Charlo, then stepping in there with the unified champion, Jerry Hurd, who was a current champion, and was able to go to a unanimous decision victory, even dropping Jerry Hurd during the fight. It had to be one of his better performances of his career. And you know, a lot of people was tuned in that night, and they should have, because it turned out to be one of those fights that you look back on that you can watch over and over again. There was a lot to learn from that fight. You know, you can see how J-Rock has been cooking behind closed doors, man, with the redefine and polish up those weaknesses he may have had. You can see his eyes. You know what I'm saying? His eyes was just peeled open. Could see just about everything. You couldn't have had him go in there and fight any better than what he did. He was just on point that night. He was absolutely on point. His opponent, Jeison Rosario, he hasn't had any notable opposition to say he's going to go in here and give J-Rock, you know, an upset like we've seen with Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz. We just don't see that with him. You know, I'm not going to sit here and get this man a high credit limit, you know, before he go in there and charge it to the game, man. Like we really need to see some more work out of Jeison Rosario. You know what I'm saying? 19-1, and I believe his only loss was to Nathaniel Gallimore. You know what I'm saying? So if you're talking about, you know, Rosario coming off that loss, J-Rock winning that fight, it's all about who have improved, because both of them been off since last year, you know, early part of last year. I think Jeison Rosario, his last fight was in May, I believe. And J-Rock was in April, if I'm not mistaken. Either way it goes, it's going to be hard for Jeison Rosario to defeat J-Rock in his hometown, Philly, in his first title defense. It's going to be absolutely a situation where he's going to have to rise to a whole different freaking stratosphere to go in there in Philly and defeat J Rock. We're talking about he's going in there to fight for the WBA, IBF, and the International Boxing Organization, IBO, which isn't, anything comparable to the first two super titles, but still, it's a collective trio of world titles that's going to be contended at the super welterweight division, and it's going to be a dandy. It's going to be exciting, man. I think these two are gonna give more than what we expecting to happen. But I'm just looking at the way J Rock performed against Jarrett Hurd. Jarrett Hurd used to be in the Bull, but he got in there with J Rock, and he had to be the matador a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because J Rock was coming forward. He was there in Jarrett Hurd's space. He was dictating the momentum. He was letting his hands go so fluently, man. His punch combination, the angles he was selecting was all dialed in correctly. And it was exciting. It was exciting. Like I said before, you can rewind that fight back and take a lot from it. Very exciting fight. That's real. Now hold on for a second. I wish I could go to that fight, but unfortunately, I'm gonna have to pass because I do have a big fight coming up. And also being a single parent, I just have to go up here and pick and choose selectively where I drop in at. 2019 was a full freaking year. It's gonna get pumping though. It's gonna get pumping. I would definitely like to go over there. J Rock, a good dude, very entertaining fighter. Definitely would like to go up there and seeing that fight card. Tell me what you think. What's your thoughts on Julian Williams going in there against Jeison Rosario? I have the record strolling across. You know what I'm saying? Julian Williams, 27-1-1, 16 knockouts. And Jeison Rosario, 19-1-1, 13 KOs. Only a 3 knockout difference between the two, but much more experience in favor of Julian Williams. And that's the point about it. He's been in there with much more competitive opposition than Jeison Rosario. So Rosario is going to be stepping in the class. He's going to be stepping in the class. There's no way that I will commit to saying, well, Julian Williams, he need to be very concerned about Jeison Rosario. No, it's something we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see that in the ring. We're going to have to see it, the first couple of rounds. Because Julian Williams right now in the super welterweight division, he just looks unbeatable. He truly does. That goes for Charlo. I'm talking about he looks unbeatable. You know what I'm saying? Dude look very, very sharp. And it would be good if we can see a potential unification bout again after this fight with Julian Williams and Charlo, because we all wishing and hoping and praying that we can see two quality top tier oppositions in that division unified. And I already know Julian Williams unified. I'm talking about work towards unification for undisputed. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're talking about. It would be great if that can happen, if we can get some freaking confirmation, to seal the deal on that, because that'll be that'll be a very good fight to look forward to near the end of 2020 or midway, just outside the midway point of 2020. It'll be solid. So I've been hearing in the media, right? And Danny Garcia, he kicking up dust again. And I don't know why Danny Garcia has this stigma, on him for being a guy who doesn't fight the best or whatever. And I think the groups who take this content with Danny Garcia and what he says and then try to say he hasn't did anything in boxing is just absurd. Danny Garcia has done much more in boxing than a lot of people give him credit for. And at one point in time, when his name popped up, they was talking about cherry picking. Danny Garcia has been absolutely credible as a fighter. You know what I'm saying? In his boxing career, 35-2 with 21 knockouts. Danny Garcia's knockout power is to be respected. You know what I'm saying? He's been in there with some very legitimate names. I remember, outside of Zab Judah, okay, he did a unanimous decision. But, he did have Eric Morales, Amir Khan. He even had Nate Campbell back in the day in 2011. You know what I'm saying? Ashley Theophane back in 2010. And then you go up here to when it start to come together, man, the puzzle pieces, the way that the picture that he was putting together with his boxing skill set, where people started to take attention, take a close look at Danny Garcia and what he was doing when he stood up there and put that work in against Lucas Matisse. And then Lamont Peterson, majority decision. Paulie Malignaggi, of course, he stopped Paulie Malignaggi. And then Robert the Ghost Guerrero, man, unanimous decision. Samuel Vargas, Keith Thurman. We all saw that fight. Keith Thurman landed some hard shots. Danny Garcia landed some hard shots. But the point was that Keith Thurman was undefeated. You know what I'm saying? I really want to skip over Brandon Rios. He has the amount of fights that you could say, okay, he has the experience, 34-3-1 at the time. But we all know Brandon Rios' style was very much paperclip to the front door of Danny Garcia's gloves. And we knew at any given time that Danny Garcia was going to knock Brandon Rios out. And that's exactly what happened. I believe he did it in like the 7th or 8th round. And then, of course, he faced Sean Porter. And Sean Porter pretty much caught us off guard a little bit. Sean Porter coming off a very subpar performance against Yordenis Ugas. And he went in there against Danny Garcia and showed that he can switch it up. He chose to not rush in immediately, take his time, be patient, box a little bit. And when it came time to close this and get close to Danny Garcia, he was able to do so easily. Now, when it came time for him to exchange with Danny Garcia, power punches was landed. I remember the shot. Danny Garcia, I don't know what round, but I remember when Danny Garcia landed that right hand on Sean Porter. I mean, it was a solid overhand right. I was like, Danny Garcia is really waiting to land that right hand, period. And when he did and Sean Porter didn't go anywhere, it's just like, I'm not saying he was deflated. I can't put that on Danny Garcia. But it wasn't too many other times in the fight that he was able to get that opportunity. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't too many other times in the fight, man. Sean Porter had a superb game plan for a veteran fighter, former world champions Danny Garcia, and it worked amazingly. It did. It worked amazingly. So he moved on after that fight. Went in there against another fighter that was pretty much tailor-made for Danny Garcia. And that was Adrian Granados. Adrian Granados is known to be that full speed ahead predatorial boxer. I mean, we seen him in there with Sean Porter. And Sean Porter and Adrian Granados had a grimy fight. Very grimy. But Danny Garcia shut all that down. They were saying that Adrian Granados was sick before the fight. Whatever the case, he went in there and knocked him out, stopped him. So coming up in the Barclays this month, he's stepping in there with Ivan Redkoch. And that should be pretty entertaining, believe it or not. You might get the same fireworks that we was able to see against Mean Machine and Terrence Crawford. It may be that type of sleeper. Andrew Radford, what's good? What's good? Salute to you, man. Thanks for dropping in. But you know that may be a sleeper at the Barclays for Danny Garcia when he faced Rekach, however you pronounce his name. I think that may be a sleeper. Absolutely. But you know, being in some of the boxing groups today, and they just sitting up here devaluing boxers' resumes and saying they ain't fought nobody. You know, it's becoming repetitive though. Like, what are you saying exactly? They haven't fought anybody. You have a fighter with multiple divisions to his resume, and then you saying they ain't fought anybody. They ain't nothing. I mean, it's the dumbest thing ever, but you know, that's what they talk about, man. And then when you try to kick boxing, I wouldn't say principles, but you keep it on a factual basis, man, when you're trying to have a dialogue. And then, you know, all the other admins and moderators try to join in. That's when you know you have a casual boxing club. When you have a lot of people that just want to tune in and all they doing is trying to make it personal and trying to get off and swerve away from the topic at hand. And I'm cool. I say cool. It's not going to happen with me. You can try as much as you want, but it's not going to happen because you're sitting up here hosting a boxing group with all these fake members in it. And you're saying, okay, Danny Garcia, what has he did in boxing? He ain't did anything in boxing. He's a cherry picker. Says who? Mikey Garcia. Who has he did? What has he done? You know, who has he fought? In boxing, 4-division champion. His only fights was Adrian Broner and Errol Spence. And then when you tell them that Adrian Broner was a 4-division champion, they look at you. I mean, they get on here and say, "Oh, you don't know shit about boxing." I said, that's a lie. Now you're just clowning, you trolling, you know what I'm saying? But we have a lot of groups that's out here hosting, and they have a lot of admins out there. I used to be a part of one that I wasn't over there. You know, they wanted me to be an admin so bad. But then when it came to actually having boxing debates, they wanted to side with a person that was their friend instead of actual having quality conversation and dialogues about boxing. They just wanted to say, hey, man, so-and-so good, man. Leave him alone, man. Stop roasting them. Stop raking them across the coals, man. Take him out the fire, man, and wash him down. Treat his wounds. Because I'm like, what are we doing here, man? Are we talking about boxing? Like AI talking about practice? Are we talking about boxing? Or are we just talking about reality TV? So anyway, enough of that. You know, I get back on that a little bit later because the reason why I'm talking about is that, you know, we was talking about some upcoming fights, and all I'm hearing is that fighter haven't did anything in boxing. This fighter, we talking about experienced, well-known names in boxing, and they saying the fighters haven't did anything. Like, what does it take for a fighter to be recognized as a legitimate world-class fighter, a prize fighter, a fighter who has put in their dues? Let me know, homie. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. Just let me know. What in the heck has to happen? You know what I'm saying? For these fighters to be recognized for their body of work as a legitimate prize fighter, world champion, on one of the all-time greats, one of the best who ever do it. You know, let me know, man. Shit. Let me know. Y'all let me know what's cooking. You know, I'm stoked. I'm happy about this fight card coming up. You know what I'm saying? Get to see some quality boxing once again. I do like the card. You look on my Facebook page, I did post the fight the whole entire fight card from the prelims to the main card, what time is coming on World Combat Sports Facebook page. I did post it, and it's only a matter of time before I copy and put that on IG. So y'all be sure to tune into that. I want to get on my man. I want to talk about my man, Andre Ward. And the reason why I want to talk about Andre Ward, the son of God, so to speak, is that the words that he used following the Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder first fight. Now, I know he's a gold medalist. I know he's an actor, and he's had opportunities to expound his career, outside of the ring. I have mad respect for Andre Ward and what he does, or what he's completed as a professional fighter, world champion, and being respected in the fight game, enough to make his opinion. He was 32-0, man, 16 knockouts. Now, we all saw some of his toughest fights in there with Sergey Kovalev. And this last fight was June 2017. I'm looking at right here. It's June 2017. But my main point in making and talking about him today is the statement that he made about Deontay Wilder not really being interested. He believed that both would, Deontay Wilder, he didn't think he would be interested in making a rematch with Tyson Fury. And his insinuation was that what just happened in the ring, as far as the performance goes, he didn't see enough value in Deontay Wilder performing to the best of his ability to win that fight on that night, to a point where deep inside he felt Deontay may not be as forthcoming to go for a rematch. He might have insinuated that it may have been some fear in Deontay Wilder to return to face Tyson Fury after what he just experienced. I mean, hey, Andre Ward is on the outside looking in. Now he's at a point where he can basically exercise commentary. But that doesn't mean just because you're a world champion, gold medalist, you can come in here and get everything right. I don't absolutely place the malicious intent to what he said wholeheartely, but I do believe it was off base just from him being a fighter and assessing the 12-round fight the way he did, and then post-fight to say, well, when it comes to Deontay Wilder, I really don't think he's going to be he's going to have a sense of urgency to step back in him with Tyson Fury, because to be honest, he's going to take this draw and be satisfied with it and move on. So what is that saying to you, the fight fans? That's basically saying, hey, you might be a little bit intimidated. You might be timid. You might be apprehensive to step back in that ring and face an opponent like Tyson Fury, who was able to get up from that 12th round knockout. That's what Andre Ward was insinuating. And when you do that in front of the lens, when you frame the moment, both visually and verbally, you have to be held accountable for your words. And that's exactly what happened to Andre Ward, because Deontay Wilder, he was all about the rematch. He was all about getting it on. He had an immediate rematch that was designated strictly for Tyson Fury. And which one of the fighters refused to take that rematch immediately? It was Tyson Fury. So now, I'm pretty sure you've seen the videos that, Andre Ward has somewhat apologized, and he's doubled down. He had to double down on what he said initially. But listen to Deontay Wilder's video. He wasn't too enthusiastic in accepting that apology. You know what I'm saying? His palm wasn't open to say, hey, I understand, my brother, you made a mistake. I can see where Wilder's coming from a bit, because in order for you to see somebody great, you have to see what was great in them when they have a bout like that against Tyson Fury. You have to still see how great they are, even when the fight wasn't the outcome that we was expecting. If Deontay Wilder's a knockout artist, we seen a portion of that play out twice. He was able to drop Tyson Fury. But to talk about Tyson Fury, he was labeled as the better technical fighter. He was supposed to go in there, split the ropes, and put on a damn masterful performance against Deontay, who's always been said he was fundamentally challenged, but no one can stop him. No one can defeat him. 42-0, 41 knockouts. Andre Ward has to double down on his comments. Why? Because the one that he selected as being optimistic in taking that rematch was the one who did. He made the wrong call, man. He made the wrong call. And sometimes in the sport of boxing, when a person has, the streak as Deontay Wilder, the defense, he's going on 11 defense, right? He's been champion for as long as he has, right? It's a bit piercing when you hear another champion downplay how much courage you actually have. You know what I'm saying? How much heart do you actually have? And that's, it's almost like, Andre Ward thought Deontay Wilder had a pinhole in his reservoir of freaking courage. You know what I'm saying? He pretty much insinuated that. But then when you hear him say he apologized and what he said was both fighters, that's not true. That's off the topic of being with integrity and honesty. You did not say both fighters. You said Deontay Wilder. You held him accountable. You said he wouldn't be interested. He would take that draw and be satisfied with it. That's what you believe that the point you was trying to make with Deontay Wilder coming out that fight with a draw, and how many believe that it was a tough fight for the Bronze Bomber. But Andre Ward, I met him in person. Good dude. He has a very tough, complex job because his voice and what he says mean a lot in the sport of boxing. And what's good for him, he has some credentials, so to speak, retiring as an undefeated fighter. He always get to wear that tuxedo. He always get to have that perception for his fans that he retired undefeated. He was 32-0, 16 knockouts, gold medalist, well-respected fighter. You know what I'm saying? In some people's books, he was good at what he does. And some consider him great at what he does. We can go back and look at the Mikhail Kesslers. Not too much Alan Green, but shout out to my man Alan Green. Cool dude, met him in person, man. Sakio Bika, very tough fighter. Arthur Abraham, you remember when all that was going on and how that played out with Darrell and them. Arthur Abraham, in my opinion, he was a gritty, tough fighter, but kind of dirty. And then Carl Froch, the way he moved around the ring and boxed, it was amazing he was able to be as agile as he was with such a big ego. But, in boxing, man, you can have an ego. It don't make a difference. You can talk the talk if you walk the walk. And Carl Froch was about that business. But he lost to Andre Ward via UD. And then Chad Dawson, former world champion Chad Dawson. Sullivan Barrera was 17-0 at the time. Edwin Rodriguez was undefeated at the time. Alexander Brand, 25-1. Andre Ward wasn't a knockout artist. He only had 16 knockouts, which was, his KO percentage was 50%, of course. And then his most defining two back-to-back fights in November 2016 was Sergey Kovalev, who was undefeated, 30-0. And then Andre Ward fought him again. Beat him the first time, unanimous decision, and then stopped him the second time in 2017. So all this to say, that I believe Andre Ward may be a bit more I wouldn't say cautious, but he would be a bit more assiduous to making statements just off his observation of a fight, because he is in the limelight. He is being framed in front of the lens. You know, they're supposed to be the expert opinions. And when he comes off a fight with a champion, especially in the heavyweight division, you might get the response that Deontay Wilder gave him and say, I'm not willing to accept your apology because you really doubt me. And not only that, another black fighter, having doubt off one performance. But I can say this, and I can't speak for none of them fighters, but what I can say is Wilder's getting to a point where people want to show up to see him lose, period. And that right there is going to make him a lot of money, because if they continue to show up, which they're going to show up February, and this is the defining fight for a lot of the naysayers that's out there that believe that Deontay Wilder will indeed take that L against Tyson Fury, because they can get on here all they want in media and talk and say, well, Deontay Wilder, he has that right hand. He has the right hand. But we've seen he has more than a right hand. He has a unit that allows him to calculate and methodically go in there and do what he's supposed to do as a fighter with blessed innate ability. So in order for you to possess that power, that raw power that can't be taught, you have to know how to deliver it. You have to know how the execution works. For him to go 12 rounds with a boxer like Tyson Fury, who's supposed to be more technically inclined, for him to be able to throw more punches, first of all, throw more punches. And for what I heard, he was fighting with one arm. He was nursing a broken arm during that training camp. To go out there and deliver two knockdowns in the facet for which he was able to. Y'all should stop jettisoning the fact that the man has an underrated ring IQ. Deborah Ford, what's going on? I didn't see you in here. Salute to you. Shout out to Darlington, South Carolina, in the building. Good to see you on Drop Through the Live there, Deborah. Shout out to Larry Frazier, the whole crew over there. You know what I'm saying? May be around here very quickly. But y'all drop and tell me what you believe, what you think about this. We're imperfect, but when you're in front of the mic in boxing, and we just coming off one of the best fights at that time, especially in the heavyweight division, because we're so eager to see Deontay Wilder face for the other champion for the unified belts. And at one point in time, it was a whole lot of talk about Deontay Wilder potentially facing the UK fighter, Anthony Joshua. And he was considered number one in the heavyweight division. And then he stepped in there with the last minute replacement after Jarrell Miller popped positive. And it happened to be the absolutely worst decision they could have made. Now, it's a lot of conspiracy theory that, Anthony Joshua wanted to lose the belts and regain them back. I'm gonna be frank with you. It's a fighter that we glorify a lot, that I've heard from people who was back there in the camps that actually allowed his belts to be lost so he can regain it and be 3-time heavyweight champion. I'm absolutely being 100% honest. A champ that we glorify, Muhammad Ali. Seriously. I'm not saying that's what happened with Anthony Joshua, to go out here, lose his belts to someone who was susceptible enough to say, I'll play ball. I'll play the game. I'll play the game with you. You know what I'm saying? I'll play the game. I had one loss. So I'm gonna allow you, Joshua's like Andy Ruiz, I'm gonna allow you to become champion, to catapult your career, get the unified titles, and then we're gonna fight in the rematch. During that time, they try to insinuate that Andy Ruiz was losing all this weight and he was coming back. They was putting all the clickbait out there to make people want to tune in for this next fight, because realistically, Joshua looked terrible in that first fight. Andy Ruiz did what he had to do. He was the more busier fighter. He landed the more quality, effective scoring punches. And when it came down to it, we all saw the aftermath. Joshua looked discombobulated. He looked like he never really had his rhythm and feet underneath him. He had no answer for the volume of punches that Andy Ruiz was giving him. And it was a fight that shocked the boxing community. I try to stay away from conspiracy theories, but it's just a lot about that fight that didn't seem right to me. And when it comes to Wilder and people wanted him to face Anthony Joshua, and they were saying that Anthony Joshua was the more technically sound fighter. If that was to still happen, would the masses of the boxing fans still gravitate to see Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua fight as if he was still undefeated? Truly, absolutely. I totally agree. Totally agree. Will people go and see Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder fight, regardless of Anthony Joshua having one defeat on his record? They absolutely will, because it's a history there. People are so eager and curious. They nosy. You know what I'm saying? They want to see the Bronze Bomber lose. So that's exactly why they will pay the ticket. They will pay the hotel. They will get the flight. They have to be there. And believe me when I tell you, it may indeed Deontay win this fight February next month, and just so happen down the line, Joshua still has his belts, because from what I'm hearing, he got to face Kubrat Pulev. You know what I'm saying? And then potentially Alexander Usyk. So we will see during that time period if by chance the ink will dry for Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is that we've seen it out here in social media that Anthony Joshua is clout chasing. He's tagging along the bumper of Deontay Wilder's name, because Deontay is going full steam ahead. He's about to step back in there with Tyson Fury. One of the controversial fights when people saying, oh, Tyson Fury won, Deontay Wilder won. So look, just like the champ said, I came back for Stavern. I came back for freaking Luis Ortiz. Now I'm coming back for Tyson Fury. It's nothing I have to offer. You know what I'm saying? He dusted Dominique Brazil in the first 2 minutes of the first frame. Who else is left outside of Tyson Fury? Anthony Joshua. That's who's left. But the fact remains, I say it all the time, I truly believe that Anthony Joshua was a bit hesitant in stepping in the ring with Deontay Wilder. So why call out his name? Anyway, I'm not going to get in the heavyweight division. That's going to be more so next month. But I just wanted to make note of that with Andre Ward saying what he said. Because right now, the people's champ, the longest reigning WBC champ in boxing right now is Deontay Wilder. The one behind him is Gary Russell Jr. And Gary Russell fought one time in 2019, one time in 2018. You know, Deontay Wilder, when he fights twice in a year, they're big fights. You know, we all thought that April 13th fight for Joshua after he faced Alexander Povetkin September 22nd of 2018. We all thought the April fight was indeed going to be Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, because he had no problem going over there. But then all the other nonsense happened. Anyway, off that. If y'all have any questions, just drop them down in the comment section. It's all good. Now I've been hearing some crazy ripples, you know, in the media pond. You know, I've been hearing talk about um, Manny Pacquiao potentially, wanting to fight Terrence Crawford, or Manny Pacquiao wanting to face Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence. However you want to word it. Terrence Crawford against either one of those, I would like to see, because they're two champions. You know what I'm saying? Um, I don't want to put Danny Garcia in the equation. I don't want to put Sean Porter in the equation, because right now in the welterweight division, we need to keep on trucking forward. And that means champion versus champion. Like I told you on the other live, it'll be absolutely a phenomenal time in the sport of boxing if Errol Spence come back and face Terrence Crawford right away. Is the potential for that to happen? It's boxing. Anything can happen. But the percentage, in my opinion, is very low. I hope Errol Spence come back and fight somebody of notoriety, top tier name opposition. I know him coming off an accident. He's back in camp. There's a lot of word on potentially who he may face. If Errol Spence faces Manny Pacquiao, I'm going to tell you point blank, even though he gave Sean Porter that type of fighting style, up close and personal, close quarters, if he was to give that same fighting style to Manny Pacquiao, he would win. You're not going to tell me Manny Pacquiao is going to come in there and fight close distance and be able to outbox Errol Spence and even come close to knocking him down. Not Errol Spence. Like, look, if Errol Spence was to come in there with Manny Pacquiao and touch the canvas for the first time, it's going to be a lot to go in to, once again, shredding the point that we may not have 100% Errol Spence. A lot of people going to say, well, he was in an accident. That's the reason why he wasn't 100%. It's a lot that's going to go in there to debunk the fact that Manny Pacquiao is just that good. Like, he's a legend of the sport, man. Future Hall of Famer if he retired today. That has nothing to do with what I'm saying. What I'm trying to tell you is that Manny Pacquiao is 41 years old, I believe. For him to even believe that the Errol Spence to face Sean Porter is a fighter that he can go 12 rounds with. I mean, come on, man. It's absurd to think that. I don't give Manny Pacquiao that credit to be able to go 12 rounds with Errol Spence. I just don't. He's been slept before. He had multiple losses to his record. I know a lot of people love to talk about the Jeff Horn fight, but could he do enough to turn that tide to the stronger, grittier, more aggressive Jeff Horn? No, he didn't have what it take. All right. So you're trying to tell me the older a fighter get, the more stronger and physically demanding they get? It just doesn't work like that unless you Sylvester Stallone. And you know what? He's in a movie. That's the only thing I can tell you. Sylvester Stallone is in a movie. The way he comes out and shredded, we know it's all HGH. He said it himself. But in the boxing ring, there's no way that your body can reverse. And the older you get, the more stronger, the more dominating, the more physically inclined that you're able to impose in a combat sport. And Errol Spence going up against Manny Pacquiao, giving him the same business that he gave Sean Porter, I don't see it going 12 rounds. I just don't see it unless Errol Spence is gracious. He just don't want to go over there and make Manny Pacquiao. The dog that Errol Spence possesses, it depends, man. I don't see him as being a giving person like that in the ring. But, amongst boxers who respect the other boxers, they may have that respect. They just say, I'm not going to knock this dude out, but I'm going to punish him enough so the fight can go 12 rounds. But my wholehearted opinion, if it's the same fight that he gave Sean Porter, I don't see Manny Pacquiao withstanding that barrage. I don't see him stand inside the square, inside the cubicle space when those two link up with what we're seeing with Errol Spence and Sean Porter. I don't see a 41-year-old Manny Pacquiao being able to sustain and be durable throughout the entire fight. I just don't see it. I just don't see it, man. Andrew Radford, appreciate the question, man. Andrew Radford said Wilder versus Fury, who wins? I don't know if that's a trick question, but I absolutely, without any compunction, have Deontay Wilder winning that fight. I have Deontay Wilder winning that fight. And I'll just tell you, here's my reasoning for that. He's a stronger fighter out of the two. The last fight, he threw more punches. For what my understanding is, and what's been talked about so many times before, is that Deontay Wilder wasn't 100% in that fight. But as always, he's been attending fights, not calling out sick, not staying at home. He hasn't been 100% in some of his most toughest fights on his resume, right? So with the Tyson Fury, you check the punch stats. He threw more punches than Tyson Fury. You know what I'm saying? Deontay Wilder threw more punches than Tyson Fury. Now, I know during the fight, it looked like he missed a lot, but I tell people all the time, if you're extremely focused on the fighter that you want to win, that fighter is going to come out as the one who did the most work. And then when you look at the punch stats, you're saying to yourself, how? How did Deontay throw more punches? And all I seen Tyson Fury connecting here, connecting there. That's because you was paying attention to one fighter. I do feel that, I like Tyson Fury. Salute to Tyson Fury and what he's went through and all that other excursions. But when it comes down to him facing Deontay Wilder, it's a reason why he didn't take the immediate rematch. He fully understands the fighter that he's in there possesses a different type of power that he never experienced up to that point with Deontay Wilder. And in the process of being knocked out, all right, it doesn't matter what anybody says. A knockout doesn't have to be a count out. A knockout doesn't have to be 2 to 3, 4 minutes. Tyson Fury was knocked out. When your head bounces off the canvas and your mouth is open and your eyes is in the back of your head, Tyson Fury was knocked out. Now, through the Gypsy Kings, gods, through the idolatry that was looking over Tyson Fury that night, he was able to rise to his feet again and finish the fight fairly strong, okay, for somebody who got knocked out. But I always tell people, adrenaline is a mother, you know what I'm saying? And I do believe that Deontay Wilder coming in here, a much healthier fighter, having both his left and right hands to full capability, we may not see this fight go the distance. It's not going to be left up into the referee's intervention this time around. What we know for a fact is that the referee that was a part of the first fight, Jack Reese, is not going to be the third man in the ring come February 22nd. Guarantee you that. I had a talk with Jack Reese when he was down here in Atlanta. I believe he was being fair at his assessment, but looking at the fight, you know what I'm saying? If the man say he did a 10 count, okay, I'm not gonna sit up there and debate it. All I can say to him is like, well, looking over and over again, it just seems like the count extended past the count of 10. And also per the ABA, the referee, I would assume, wasn't supposed to be at close proximity to the fighter's face like that on one knee. When have you seen that? Like, I understand referees getting down when you have a fighter that's knocked out cold and they're not moving, and the referee, or a fighter that's knocked out stiff and the referee hold their head up. The count is over. The fight is over. The referee is basically coddling the fighter until the corner get there. With Tyson Fury, if it was another fighter, we're talking about, look at Amir Khan being knocked out. If it was another fighter other than Tyson Fury, and it wasn't such a huge heavyweight bout to that magnitude, I don't think he would have been given that much attention. Seriously, I don't think Tyson Fury would have been given that much attention. But since it was one of those defining bouts, we're talking about Deontay Wilder, the WBC champion, all the people who was rooting for Tyson Fury to take that belt. I believe that's why he was able to receive that special treatment. But February 22nd, Tyson Fury is back in there. And I'm going to tell you, if you believe that Tyson Fury doesn't have some reservations about stepping in there with the hardest punch in boxing, man, you're sadly mistaken. Tyson Fury has changed. He has redefined, he has revised his training camp. He has switched out his team. So to all you naysayers that's out there, and I'll say this again, Deontay Wilder isn't the only fighter I support first and foremost. Just look at my body of work and look at how I'm pretty much one of the most neutral media people out here. I do support the Bronze Bomber. Okay? But understand what I'm saying about this particular fight. If a fighter fundamentals is so fragmented, and every time his name is in the topic of discussion as being a fighter who doesn't have no fundamentals, a fighter who's not on your top list of heavyweight. When he talk about being great, you're like, oh no, he ain't great. He can't even box. He can't even do this, that, and the other. When there's negative connotations, right? And it continues to recycle itself. Why isn't it so easy for people just to go in there and finish the job? Why is Tyson Fury switching out his team? Why is he training, changing nutritionists? What's going on mentally with Tyson Fury to the fact that he has, first of all, on the front side, leading up to their first fight, his language was a whole lot different. He was saying a whole lot of things about Deontay Wilder. He's a dosser, he's a pussy, he can't, anything you want to imagine. That's what you was hearing. He's a bum. That's what you was hearing from Tyson Fury. This time around, the echo is has less volume to it. The way he was retreading his one-liners, you're not hearing them in recession like you did before. He's being very cautious of what's going on and what he's saying. And I understand why, you know what I'm saying? Like this man took on Tom Schwartz, then Otto Wallen. And then he steps over to the WWE and takes on Braun Strowman. And he's saying, hey, let me try out wrestling. And look, to be honest, I was impressed with Tyson Fury going over to the wrestling ring. Because I was like, you have a fight coming up with Deontay Wilder, and you're going over there practicing wrestling. Why you let that cut heal up? I haven't been talking about the cut because, like I said, I just don't want to put obstacles out there before he step in the ring. But Deontay Wilder, I have him winning that fight. I do. I have him winning that fight. He's coming in 100%, stays healthy during the camp. And look, I believe if Deontay Wilder did get injured during any fight, you won't hear about it. Because from what I understand, it's been several fights that he was injured in, but you didn't hear about it because he just stepped in there and did what he had to do. When his arm was burned, when he broke his arm, having hand problems, when he was up there hitting the heavy bag and he wasn't even using his right hand because it was said that it was injured. Take it for what it's worth, man. Tyson Fury has a problem next month. And whatever they're teaching him in Crunk Gym, much respect. I'm just curious as if it's enough time to change up a fighter who pretty much has fought the same exact way with a lot of his opponents. What I can anchor is that, you know how Tyson Fury fought Vladimir Klitschko? How he's known to sit up here and make the bout boring, a very insipid type of exchange whenever he feel like it. It's difficult from a fighter who isn't scared of your power. You know, Deontay Wilder is marching forward and he ain't scared of your power. You just can't hang out on the ropes and try to land a combination and catch Deontay coming in for the counter. It's not going to be that heavy. You know, when you got a fight that's just not scared or intimidated by your power, then they're more willing to take risks. And not to mention that he has a pretty solid, respectable chin. Golden Mask said, well, hey, first of all, salute Andrew Radford, Golden Mask, Deborah Ford, all y'all that stopped in. I appreciate it. He felt Wilder's power and knows it's going to most likely be worse the second time around. I mean, that's a solid response, because if the man doesn't remember when he was actually knocked out in the 12th round, that's a problem. Because deep down inside, man, he has to go to sleep after he finished training. Seriously, he has to go to sleep. If he's dreaming about the number 2, and Tyson Fury is talking about, for some reason, he's dreaming about the number 2. He feels like this point in time, he's going to get the knockout in 2 rounds. Now, look, I'll tell you all the time, I'm not the one to prognosticate the negative side of darkness. Tyson Fury knocking out Deontay Wilder, who Luis Ortiz couldn't knock out, right? That's a hard sell for me. That's a hard sell for me to sit up here and put my cosign on Tyson Fury coming up and shocking the world like Andy Ruiz and knocking out Deontay Wilder in 2 rounds. Do you know how passive? Do you know how deconditioned Deontay Wilder will have to come into the ring? Do you know how mentally debilitated that he will have to be as a fighter for Tyson Fury to catch him with a shot? We're talking about a fighter who don't have punching power, the one who went the distance with Otto Wallen. Do you believe how crazy that is? So I'm not even going to make it. I'm saying. But deep down inside, if Tyson Fury is having dreams of the number 2, believe me, he having just as many nightmares. Over and over again. If your father's saying it's a problem, look, this is how crazy Deontay Wilder's power is. Barry Hearns, when they was in the negotiation process in 2018, right? He gave a scenario outlandish in many ways, y'all. He said to Anthony Joshua, if you have 6 months to live, then fight Deontay Wilder. But if you don't have 6 months to live, the risk isn't necessary. Go find it. So if you're having an individual that's been in boxing as long as the Hearns has been in boxing over there, and for him to break down a scenario to Anthony Joshua enough to the point where he had to go to that extreme, if you have 6 months to live, you ain't trying to fight nobody except whatever you have that's killing you, right? So if you have 6 months to live, this man is saying, go fight Deontay Wilder. Extreme measures, right? Extreme measures. But if you don't have 6 months to live, don't. That's how much of fear that they had with Anthony Joshua facing Deontay Wilder when he had his belts the first time. Andrew Ruff said, who fought the best fighters between the two, Wilder or Fury? It depends on the names that you want to attach, because what I know in boxing, people love to sit up here and attach names, man. They want to attach the one name to Anthony Joshua, you know, with his brother Fatali. And I understand those are two legends. They had the heavyweight division on lockdown. for damn near what, 9 years, close to a decade. That's when the U.S. didn't have that solid opposition to go up there and dethrone them. To go up there and reign during that time, to shut them down. So you look at the one good name that Anthony Joshua has on this record. And I'm gonna get to Deontay. The one good name Anthony Joshua has on his resume is when he fought Vladimir Klitschko. Listen, you can say what you want. Him coming off a year and a half. I heard it all. I read it, through it several times over. The only thing I'm saying, when you're talking about him facing a very specific opponent that was inactive with a name in boxing, it was Vladimir Klitschko. Vladimir Klitschko. A big name. Then you can add in the champions that fell along inside of everything. Charles Martin, I really can't say he was a big name because he, in my opinion, took a dive. So did a lot of other people in boxing. Good guy. I had the opportunity to talk to him. Good guy. But boxing has individuals that's willing to take a big paycheck. And that's what I believe he did in 2 rounds. Charles Martin gave up the IBF. You know what I'm saying? Period. Joseph Parker went in there to survive. Is that the next big name outside of Vladimir? Yeah, I can say that's a big name. You know what I'm saying? Alexander Povetkin, old. I don't care if they fall in Wembley Stadium. I could care less. Even though Alexander Povetkin was giving Joshua business, I'm looking at myself. I say, of course he's giving Joshua the business. Vladimir Klitschko was freaking giving Joshua the business. Of course. Deontay Wilder. The names I can put up on his radar since he's been the WBC is his 12-round decision with Bermane Stiverne. You can't say Bermane Stiverne was a bum or nobody because he was a champion. The only man to go the distance with Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder rematched the man and just absolutely destroyed him. Desecrated him, man. A lot of people were thinking is the Bermane Stiverne ever gonna, return to the ring again? Luis Ortiz, in my opinion, Luis Ortiz in the top 3 heavyweights. Luis Ortiz was avoided by Anthony Joshua back in the day. They was trying to damn underpay the man. Do your research. Luis Ortiz, southpaw, only 2 losses to his ledger is Deontay Wilder. Top 3 heavyweight in the division. Period. A lot of people don't want to fight him. Dillian White, is no way that he would want to fight that man for WBC mandatory. I will go with Luis Ortiz any day of the week. Any day of the week. Dominique Breazeale, I really can't put up in there because Anthony Joshua knocked him out in 7, right? But then again, Deontay knocked him out in 2 minutes and 17 seconds. So I really can't put Dominique Breazeale up there as being one of those top-tier opponents Deontay Wilder faced, but the two had a history. They stepped in the ring, and Deontay blitzed him, destroyed him. Both of these fighters, Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, has fought names that are worthy opposition in the heavyweight division at the top of the food chain. You have the Daniel Du Bois, you have the Andy Konoskis, you have Efe Ajagba, who faced serious adversity. Weird boxing style, Efe Ajagba. He got a lot of work to do. I mean, a lot of people saying he's the next big up and coming thing. Okay, but him being dropped the way he did, okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. Charles Martin's still out there. You have Alexander Usyk coming up from cruiserweight, the former unified cruiserweight champion. Small for the division, but guess what? Deontay Wilder is small for the division. When it comes to weight, Deontay Wilder, once again, he's blessed with height, right? He's blessed with the stature of the imposing heavyweight fighter. When he's fighting at 209, he's just out the back door of cruiserweight, but yet he's going in there contending against guys at 35, 40 pounds heavier than him. You know, that's just wild to think about. Golden Mask say Fury don't have that kind of power. Yeah, we know that, but you know, to the casual boxing fans, they will always give you that energy. They will give you that energy that belongs in a cave in the dark. You know, they can goddamn just spark up a freaking candle and show their face and say, hey, you know, Fury gonna knock out Wilder, and then hurry up and blow it out and run to the back of the cave. Seriously, man. I know that's a bit outside, but you know, that's how my imagination is. You have the mugs, hey, you have them casual fans in the closet, man, just peeking out, saying, you know, typing on their keyboard, pressing send, and then hopping back in the closet, man, because they don't want to see what's coming. Serious, that's the era we live in. Golden Mask say, yeah, Vladimir is his biggest name. Hey, Rich and Faith TV, man, salute, man. Didn't see you in the building. Salute to you. Y'all be sure to follow Rich and Faith TV, man. He doing big things in the entertainment business, man, with interviews and so forth. Be sure to follow him on IG and all that, man. Believe me when I say he's gonna be a big deal. Give him about a year or two, he's gonna be a big deal out here doing the interviews. He's working himself from entertainment to boxing. Golden Mask say, didn't Stavern retire out this last fight with Wilder? I'm not sure, man, because I could have sworn he came back and had one other fight after Wilder. I'm pretty sure he had one fight, man. You know what I'm saying? I may be wrong, I may be right, but I'm about to tell you. I thought he had one fight after Wilder. I was right. He fought Joe Joyce. He fought Joe Joyce February 2019. He lost via TKO. I knew that. Why? Because I remember that fight, and I was looking forward to seeing how he responded after that brutal freaking meme montage. I'm talking about the meme abyss that happened with Joe Joyce. I mean, what happened with Bermain Stavern. For him to fight Deontay Wilder November 2017 and return February 2019 just to get stopped again, he ain't right, man. But check this out. You know what's crazy, right? When I was in the casino, I was out there fishing, you know, for media, right? Who I see walking down the casino at the MGM Grand? Bermain Stavern. He's walking with Clarissa Shields. So Clarissa Shields are there taking pictures. You know, this is the Broner Pacquiao weekend. You know, she's out there taking pictures with other people. And then I'm like, hey, Stavern, what's good, man? You know, can I get a pic? He was cool, low key, but he wasn't doing no interviews though. Believe me, I wanted to ask that question. Like, how do you assess that fight with every other opponent that you faced off with in the ring in your career? How do you assess being in there with Deontay Wilder, who was freaking immortal that night? How do you remember that? Do you even remember anything from that fight? Do you remember just waking up? I mean, when Deontay was hitting his chest, like all the memes that are out there, that's exactly how we saw it. Like he was invincible that night, man. That shit was crazy. It was a whole nother level. Anyway. Richard Faith TV said, I'm just here listening, learning. Thank you. This is great information. Hey, you know what it is, man. It's all good. You know, me and Rich Faith TV, man, we're gonna be doing some collabos down here in the ATL in boxing to get a broader name out here in the boxing community. You know, a lot of people wanted to gravitate to Gervonta Davis coming down here to fight, but that's not enough for Atlanta. You know, like when you're over there in New York, Jersey, Philly, all that, boxing all the time. That's like the mecca of boxing. It's boxing all the time. That's flowing, man. The lights are always coming off and flicking back on. Every weekend, there's something going down. Either it's at the Barclays, the MSG, It doesn't matter. The Prudential Center, it doesn't matter. So we just trying to start up and cultivate the topic of boxing down here in Atlanta, Georgia, because it's going to be a minute before we have another big fight coming down here in the ATL. You know, just to get the crowd more aware of the sport. Golden Master, I think Deontay Wilder embarrassed him in the last fight. Golden Master, absolutely. You know, I try to explain to people all the time, you know, how it is to be in the spotlight of the ring, man. And to be not only in the spotlight, but have that ranking system where it's some people actually believing that you're going to be a tough opponent for an opponent that's that's rising to the top. You know, a big name is rising to the top. And Deontay Wilder was rising to the top. And he was able to go the distance with Bermane Stiverne. You know what I'm saying? He was able to go the distance. That's who had the title. But the way he sit up there and demolished Bermane Stiverne made him seem like they was on whole entirely different planets. They was freaking birthed chemically different as human beings. You know what I'm saying? One was an experiment and the other one was mortal. Deontay Wilder came in there and did something that people will be talking about forever in the sport of boxing. The way he went in there and just ran through Bermane Stiverne and basically he sat there and pounded his chest to antagonize Bermane Stiverne. Say, do something, man. Do something. Give the people what they want to see, man. Fight. Bermane like, nah, not tonight. Not tonight. I can't do it, champ. I can't do it. But see, Deontay Wilder's mentality was, that's the only person to go the distance with me. So I got to come back in here and shut him down. You know what I'm saying? I got to come in here and shut him down. And that's what happened. He goes in there running in trouble with Luis Ortiz. What happened? I hear the people on the fight thread. I'm not going to give the boxing group any shine, but they were looking like, yeah, that's what we did. Look, check this out. This how my mind wanders, right? I remember being on the boxing thread and the people was like, there we go. He's exposed. He's exposed. Right when Luis Ortiz began his flurry of punches and Deontay Wilder was in a bit of trouble, right? You hear all these people was up here saying, oh, Deontay Wilder has the power, but he can't box. He can't do nothing. He's a fluke. He can't box. Luis a better boxer. He's going to come in there. And right when that flurry was going on, these people were saying like, this is it. This is what we came to. This is the culminating moment. This is the climax. And what we've been saying is shut down Deontay Wilder. And guess what? He made it all the way down to 0 to tick away the frame. And the 8th round was on deck. Now, that was a little bit of controversy with him coming in. The referee stopped him to take a look at the cut, right? I mean, take a look at his face because he, took some punches. I mean, a lot of punches. And then once go down to his knee. And then we fast forward to his fight with Luis Ortiz, his last fight. And then you hear people saying the flaws of Deontay Wilder is showing. This is what we've been talking about. The flaws. Like Deontay, Wilder really wasn't doing anything in the Luis fight. Like he wasn't as actively missing as he was in the Tyson Fury fight. He wasn't just putting forth the effort just yet. So I'm saying to myself, like, okay, if he ain't putting forth the effort, he's going to have a lot of energy for the back end of the fight. And that's exactly what happened. Like when it came down to him to land his power shots, it was a brutish affair. The results was similar to all the rest. When Luis Ortiz was hit by that right hand, and the sweat sprayed off the back. It was almost like he had faced. You know, like you hear a jet pass by, and they say they're breaking a sound barrier. It just feels like Ortiz tried to put his head up in there, and the mist off the back of his head just hit him. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a sonic boom. That's what it looked like when I was looking through my camera. It just looked like he stuck his head up in a sonic boom, and all the back spray off his head came out at the same time, like his soul had been released. You know what I'm saying? His soul had been given a pass to the higher calling. That's what it seemed like with Luis Ortiz. When he went back on his leg, I was like, oh my goodness, man. Luis Ortiz, like 40, 41 years old. I hope he don't tear his ACL or MCL falling back on his leg. And then his leg popped out. Like he fell back on it, but it ended up popping out to the side to save him from injury. Because, you know, at this point in time, Luis Ortiz don't need to be injured. But it was crazy, man. That's one of the craziest things, because I was looking through the lens of my camera, and then I saw the punch, but I heard it too. And Teddy Atlas, you know, look, I got my phone out. I have my camera. My phone is in my lap, and I'm listening to some reviews of what people are saying about the champ. Like I'm multitasking, and Teddy Atlas was like, Deontay's flaws is showing. And I just remember us like turning around talking about, like, look at Teddy Atlas. Teddy Atlas, this is all he wants to be right. Boom. Luis Ortiz is reclined out under the lights. The referee stops the fight. Now, granted, I think, you know, why Luis couldn't have continued, the referee saw something in his eyes or whatever. I get it. But Luis got cracked. Seriously. He got cracked worse than he did in the first fight. When Deontay landed that straight right down the middle, it was serious. It was absolutely serious. Andrew said, Wilder's the king of boxing. Don Dollar, what's good, man? Thanks for dropping in. Said WCS salute, fam. Hey, salute to you, man. Appreciate it. Golden Man said, that's what I think he's going to do to Fury. They were happy. He wasn't very patient in the second Ruiz fight. He was very patient. Yeah, he was very patient. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, man. You know, I'm looking at, you know, the way he was trained and everything. I had the opportunity to see him spar 3 heavyweights. One was the Commonwealth champion, very solid up and coming heavyweight. I forgot his name, but it was some solid sparring going on. Of course, you know, in the gym, you know, you either get permission to record, but usually the code of conduct is you don't sit up here and spar. You know, you record sparring. But I was able to visually retain all that, and it was exciting to see the champ get in some sparring with 3 different heavyweights, man. I mean, it was absolutely informative, man, educational. I can say that I've seen, you know, one of the greatest champs to ever do it spar. But at this point in time, Tyson Fury, you cannot tell me that he isn't thinking about next month. You cannot convince me that Tyson Fury isn't contemplating. And, you know, I'm gonna be real with you. Like I said before, I'm not the one to sit up here and put a heavy cloud of darkness over another fighter. But it just seems like he's kind of lacking in his conditioning a bit. You know, he's picking back up a little of that weight that he might have lost. I did see him doing some road work the other day, but I think, you know, I think he's been falling off the wagon a little bit with his recreational I'm not saying the drugs. I'm just talking about maybe some drinking or whatever. Because it just seems like he pick up weight. If he had all those fights, if he had Sefer Safari, Francisco Pianetta, then Deontay Wilder, and then Tom Schwartz and Otto Wallen, all right, those are camps to get in shape. Camps. So you should be conditioned. I don't know what the nutrition about. He switched nutritionists, and I don't know why. If you lost the weight, why you have to switch nutritionists? I thought you lost all the weight that you had to lose, to be honest. I thought you did. But I think he may be falling off his nutritional bandwagon a little bit. He may potentially be consuming. I'm not sure, consuming alcohol, having some leisure. I don't know. But when it comes down to it, man, he's going to have to step in there next month. And I don't see it being Andy Ruiz, Anthony Joshua. Will we ever get to see Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder fight? I truly don't know, man. And I really don't believe it's going to be the culpability of Deontay Wilder. I believe it's going to be solely on what we've been seeing in the media, fight fans. What we've been seeing in the media is what? We've been seeing Anthony Joshua suggesting to help Tyson Fury with sparring. We've been seeing once the fight was made between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, now we see Anthony Joshua come on board. I guess he got permission to be on the mic without a chaperone, without a freaking a PR person. And he's up here saying that the only focus he has is Deontay Wilder. I just find that a bit petty. You know what I'm saying? Because when the man don't have a fight, we don't hear too much from Anthony Joshua. But once he signed the fight, it's locked in. Then he jumps on here and say, hey, man, I have no problem helping you out. I have no problem helping you out with sparring for Deontay Wilder. Now, a lot of factors goes into that, people. Let WCS break it down. A lot of factors goes in there. There's a lot of variables that mean absolutely bucket water when it comes to Anthony Joshua helping out Deontay Wilder. Let's get to number one. First of all, can Anthony Joshua even keep the pace of Tyson Fury? Can Anthony Joshua even keep the pace of Deontay Wilder? Because his cardio has been suspect for quite some time now. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're talking about severely chronic, debilitated asthma, inflammatory, whatever you want to call it. Anthony Joshua has suspect cardio. Number two, when have we seen Anthony Joshua outside of the Vladimir Klitschko fight really get deep down and dirty and fight on the inside and keep up a pace besides the fourth or fifth round when he was in there with Vladimir Klitschko? When have we seen him reciprocate that same performance? It didn't happen with Joseph Parker because the referee was always in the middle, right? Number three, if Anthony Joshua is going to step in there and try to help Tyson Fury, what is he going to teach Tyson Fury? The fighter who I believe that'll beat Anthony Joshua too. What are you going to teach? You haven't been in there with the Bronze Bomber. You haven't been in there with Tyson Fury. I don't care if you all sparred back in the day. You haven't stepped in the square on the official bout and faced Tyson Fury. So, like, once again, we're curious to see how Anthony Joshua will handle somebody that's eccentric like Tyson Fury. And then, speaking of eccentric, let's times that twice, to a more awkward fighter like Deontay Wilder. Help me understand what's going on in the carousel of Anthony Joshua to put out a tweet and say, hey, man, let me help you train for Deontay Wilder. Shouldn't he be getting ready for his mandatories? You know, when a fighter doesn't really have any concern about his mandatories? I'm not saying he don't. That means he don't respect the fighter he's stepping in there. Kubrat Pulev. Do we actually believe Kubrat Pulev is going to give Anthony Joshua a run for his money? We don't know. What's going on? Rajesh, I think that's your name. Salute from London. Salute, man. Salute to you. Thanks for dropping in from London, man. Salute to the UK fans, the boxing fans over there in the UK. Said, yes, it would be wild in 6. Okay, you got it in 6. Tell me why you have it in 6. What you think is going to go down different this time around besides the skepticism of Tyson Fury? Talk to me, man. Golden Mass say Joshua rode a bike for 36 minutes. Hey, listen. Golden Mass. Oh, man, that's funny, man. You know, I do that at 50 years old. I mean, I just put up a vid of riding 10 miles in 23 minutes, right? Tyson Fury riding a bike for 36 minutes. We all know the bike, you can burn calories, all right? You can burn calories, but they work different muscles. And if you rode it for 36 minutes, all right, it might have been a light workout, man. You know what I'm saying? He might just be getting back into boxing camp outside of WWE camp. But that's hilarious, man. Roger say, Josh was like that little brother getting in the middle of two big brothers. Can I play with you guys? Man, true words, man. He just reminded me of that kid that goes to the playground, man. And he's extremely imposing, and people like willing to offer them to say, hey, AJ, you want the swing set? You want the swing set? Until he comes up and there's some new kids that came to the school, and most of what Joshua is used to is being given things, right? And he's gotten used to the habit. He steps in the swing set, and these cats ain't getting off the swing set. And Joshua say, how long are you going to be on there? When we finish? And Joshua say, okay, I'm going to go over here to the seesaw. I'm going to go over here to the monkey bars. I'm going to go down the sliding board. Y'all just let me know when you get off. You know, Joshua is used to being imposing as, you know, aesthetically. And now that he's dropped all the muscle and everything because he didn't have the cardio to suit it. He just comes off of that guy, like you said, that want to play with the big boys. He was blessed with the height. Eddie Hearns built him up to be a model and this freaking Adonis-like boxer over there until he started being exposed. You know what I'm saying? And what I tell people all the time, Joshua absolutely got exposed in the Vladimir fight. Absolutely, he got exposed, y'all. Look, Klitschko could have finished that fight. The referee stopped in the 11th round. No way it should have been stopped. Klitschko was on his feet, and he was smart enough and experienced enough to stall Joshua out, who was on his last he was running on fumes by that time. And I truly believe if Klitschko really wanted to dig deep and come back at Joshua and pick that belt up, he could have. I just believe he was specifically picked being on a hiatus, and he was given the orders. You know, he wanted them to sell tickets so they can make some money off the fight. And what better name to do it than Klitschko? Look, I love when the Joshua fans was in here saying he's selling out arenas. He's selling out Wembley. He's not selling out Wembley. He's selling out He's selling out the O2. He's selling out everything but Wembley. That was the first night when he stepped in there with Klitschko, and both of them sold out Wembley. The fight he had initially before Wembley with Klitschko was with a fighter called Matt Legg. Come on, man. A fighter like Matt Legg is not going to sell out the Wembley Stadium, right? And then we know after that, he signed that 2-fight deal, which was bogus. Around the time when Eddie Hearns signed a $1 billion DAZN deal. So they all want to collaborate. That's what they want to do. They want to collaborate. This huge earthquake of news. And they wanted to flash it across the screen as if everything was going well over there with them. Oh, we just signed a zone deal worth $1 billion, but they didn't tell you it was contingent. And then you hear Joshua signs a 2-fight Wembley deal. Joshua signs a 3-fight deal worth $100 million. So tell me this. How much money did he get paid after he stepped in there and fought Alexander Povetkin September 22nd, right? He beat Alexander Povetkin after going through adversity. Comes around. They then try to make the fight with Deontay Wilder for April 13th. How much he get paid for that? Like, if he has signed a 2-fight Wembley deal for a certain amount of money, how did that all work out? Like, how can you let a Wembley deal go by? Because it was never meant to be in the first place. They was never trying to make that fight with Deontay Wilder to fight in Wembley. If you're going to have a fighter fight in Wembley, give him the same percentage you gave Alexander Povetkin. If Alexander Povetkin was at 30%, 35%, whatever the case may be, why can't you give Deontay that instead of saying 12 million flat? I mean, 12.5 flat, 15 million flat. Why are you giving the man flat fee? Because you wanted a term. You wanted a deterrent there. You want to break him down. Roger said, I think just for the sake of the fans, so they can enjoy a little longer. Golden Mass said exactly. Man, that's just how I see it. I'm not, a lot of people like to use the H word, hating on Anthony Joshua. I'm not. The way I support a fighter and view a fighter is all about their performance and who I believe they are as a athlete. And I always base it off the resume and their performances and what they've been through, right? And I just see the route for which Anthony Joshua has rose. A lot of, like, once again, it's hard to talk to certain groups. They always want to kick you out the groups. But I tell them, Joshua lost his gold medal match. London Games. Say what you want. I watched the fight several times over. There's no way that you can tell me that he won that gold medal match. No way. The one thing that I agree with Dillian White is he said he was gifted that gold medal match. That's the only thing I agree with Dillian White. All the rest of that buffoonery he's talking about and nonsense, hey, whatever. But for Wilder and Joshua, I hope they shock us and come up to a conclusion and say, let's make this happen in 2020. I seriously don't think it's going to happen. For what I'm knowing, that Wilder and Fury has a rematch clause. So if by chance they enact that rematch clause, I'm not sure if Fury after this fight will want to take that rematch. It depended on the results. What's next? Is Anthony Joshua able to retain his belts from his mandatory? We don't know. But I can tell you who I would definitely like to see get in there with Deontay Wilder in the process of Anthony Joshua defending his belts with the mandatory. Come on, man. You know who I would love to see get in there with Deontay Wilder? Just to get everything out the way, people. That is Dillian White. I've heard enough of Dillian White calling people cowards. It comes to a point where it becomes a cacology. It becomes a point where you are just abusing and you're using words out of context. Just to call a man a coward because you haven't been able to step in the ring, but yet that same individual is actively fighting top tier competition. It's kind of counterproductive in hearing you say he's a coward. How can he be a coward if he's stepping in there with top tier competition? It doesn't make any sense. So, he needs to stop rambling on about certain people being cowards. You know what I'm saying? Like, just say, for instance, if you want to call somebody a coward, you call Antonio Margarita a coward. Antonio Margarita was caught with the plaster of Paris in his gloves and he was suspended from the sport of boxing. Once his suspension was up, he was able to get his license back. But that's cowardness that he was able to believe that he needed to load his gloves up in the sport of boxing to further get wins on his resume. Thanks to Nassim Richardson, who was attentive enough to see the substance in his raps. Now, the thing that made me a bit upset is one of the good guys, Miguel Cotto. I would say Miguel Cotto, he took the blunt force of Antonio Margarito cheating. Miguel Cotto was forced into submission by loaded gloves. Just off the picture that you see post-fight for that, you can see a pink substance in his hand wraps. I mean, that's cheating. You know, a lot of people can say Mike Tyson. That was coward for him to bite the ear off of Evander Holyfield. Bite both ears, actually. He was just able to dislodge or sever the cartilage in Evander's right ear. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a lot of situations where you can say cowardness existed in the ring. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot. Low blows. You know what I'm saying? Hit behind the head. You know, the sucker punch, where, you know, the sucker punch from the fighter after the fight, where the fighter was sent to prison for sucker punching the fighter with no gloves on. He had already removed his gloves and he had lost to the fighter previously. And this was a rematch. He went in there and he lost again. And he sucker punched him. He got sent to freaking, I forgot what prison, but I think he served like 2 or 3 years. That's what you call cowardness. Cowardness can be Panama Lewis removing the cushion from the knuckles of the gloves when his fighter Luis Resto fought his opponent that was undefeated. And also he put a dime hole in the palm of the glove so that Resto can use it to scratch up or degrade the condition of the fighter's eye when they was in close by rubbing the glove up around his eye. And, you know, the crazy thing about it, it worked. He ended up ending the career of his opponent because his eye was so messed up. And not only till Resto went over there to shake the father's hand of the fighter, the father grabbed the glove and say, wow, it's almost like there's no cushion in his glove. And that started it right there. Panama Lewis banned from the sport of boxing for cheating, for removing cushion of the gloves, removing a circle of freaking padding from each knuckle. And that led to that Billy going over there having an accident. Well, they say he was trying to kill himself. You know, because his boxing career was derailed. That was his last fight. He was never able to fight again. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of areas that you can consider cowardness when it comes to the sport of boxing, rather than Dillian Whyte just saying, okay, they're a coward. You just like, you know, Tyson Fury always calling people a bum, a pussy, all that. No, you just can't do that to fighters who you know that's not that. Roger said, yes, amen. No fight is above critique. Yeah, no fight is above critique, man. Roger said Dillian is a bully. Well, he tries to be a bully. You know what's crazy there, Rajesh, is that I tell people all the time when I was walking through the MGM. Once again, I was walking through the MGM on fight week, and it was pretty dense up in there. There wasn't that many people up in there, right? And I just got my camera. I'm just walking. So I told this story before. I looked through the right side of this restaurant, and I'm looking through the blinds, and I see all this group of people. I recognize not Mauricio Suleiman, but the other one. And I recognize a whole lot of big names at the table. But I saw this person that looked like Dillian Whyte. I said, man, that's Dillian White. He had his arms crossed with his head resting down like this. I said, that's Dillian White, man. He cut off the mohawk. So I said, man, I'm gonna go ahead and freaking try to get an interview. But only until I walked up on the table, I said, nope, I cannot get an interview tonight. And I cannot take a picture, because if I would have took a picture at this table, they would have banned me from credentials forever and a day. I guess they was having a business meeting. But I went up to Dillian and I said, hey, Dillian, how you doing, man? Scotty White, World Combat Sports. Can you mind taking a picture? He said, sure. And like I told people on my live, I said, you know what? I used to dog the crap out of Dillian. He's actually a pretty nice guy. At one point in time, I was changing my vibe about this dude until he started talking his way back into the freaking picture, calling Deontay a coward, advocating for Anthony Joshua. Look, he's advocating for Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearns to go at Deontay Wilder to get the shot, instead of advocating to get back in the ring with the man who knocked him out. That to me is a bit cowardice to me. Because if you was knocked out cold by Anthony Joshua, who still has the belts, Dillian White, why wouldn't you return to the scene of the crime and say, I want to right the wrong? I want to right the wrong. I want to be champion. You can't sit up here and say, you know what, the belt I got right now, it's the same as Deontay Wilder's. It's no different. That's BS. If you're the interim champion, you're the interim champion. If you're the WBC Intercontinental Champion, you're the WBC Intercontinental Champion. Whatever. You're the franchise, you're the franchise. But look, it's one super champion. When it comes to the WBC Super Champion, only one person has the belt. Dylan is funny. B sample failure is cowardly. Hey, Don Dada, you ain't never lied on that, man. Come on now. Talk to him, man. Talk to him. He said B sample failure. Look, Don Dada. They couldn't even find the B sample, man. They never located it. They couldn't even put a freaking metal detector out there, a cup detector. They couldn't even get the dogs. All these freaking forensic dogs and crime lab dogs or whatever. Cadaver dogs. They didn't have a B sample dog out there. They didn't have no freaking animals that they have in the laboratories that go locate a B sample. You trying to tell me you can't locate some urine? Golden Man say Dillian will get decapitated by Deontay. He's looking for a payday. You know, Golden Mask, that's not far off the truth. The reason being is that Dillian White basically said what? Dillian White said, this is what I'm going to give you. This is what I'm going to give you. I think I can knock out Deontay Wilder, so I'm going to get in close. I'm going to rush him because I believe if I put I can knock him out. If I just get in close enough to land my power shots, I can knock him out. But then he ended it with this caveat. He said, if I get chinned, I get chinned. So be it. If he gets chinned, so be it. Now, you don't think that if you was to call up Dominique Brazil and ask him about how it is to get stopped by Joshua, how it is to get stopped by Wilder, it's a freaking collage out there with Dillian White on the canvas. You know what I'm saying? Just check out all the collages that's out there with Dillian White on the canvas. So you're going to go in there close, recklessly, with the heaviest hitter in boxing. And you're going to say, well, I'm going to put on some Eminem and I'm going to seize the moment. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, you're going to seize the moment. And in the process, you're going to seize up too. That's what Dillian White is going to get. He's going to seize up. Andrew said, wow, we all know the 50 million was real. Golden Mass said, exactly. Why isn't Dillian going after Joshua and all of his belts? You know, I say this all the time about Dillian White, him not advocating for himself. You already been in there with Anthony Joshua. You had the opportunity to be the one that's a shot caller over in the UK. But for somehow, some way, you wasn't good enough to get the job done, Dillian. You wasn't good enough to get the job done. Tyson Fury was able to go in there with Klitschko and put on one of his masterful performances, even though it wasn't the best or the entertaining fight. He was able to lift the belts off of him, right? Dillian White, you stepped in there with Anthony Joshua, but you didn't go the distance. That says something about your mindset. If you're going to advocate for Eddie Hearns and Anthony Joshua to say, okay, Deontay, let's go, Deontay. Where you at, Deontay? Let's go. I mean, you're not even willing to say, you know what? Check this out. I really want another title shot with Anthony Joshua while he has the belts. So Anthony Joshua lose the belts to Andy Ruiz. And then check this out. They want to go to the US and fight Jarrell Miller. They don't want to fight Dillian White? Come on, man. Come on, man. You don't want to fight Dillian White, but you want to go over here to the US and fight Jarrell Miller, but not Dillian White. You don't want to fight him again? Somebody you already knocked out? That's what I can't understand. It's not for me to understand. Like, you don't want to face somebody you already stopped. That's disrespect. Absolutely disrespect. Somebody asked that earlier today. I mean, earlier in the chat. Roger say, what is your prediction on Fury and Wilder? And I can tell you this, like I'll tell anybody. You know, I have Wilder winning the fight. You know, there's a lot of other physical ailments that was hindering, you know, Deontay Wilder from going in there and performing at another level. He still went in there and threw more punches than Fury with the condition that he had, you know, from recovering from a broken arm. Now, y'all can say it's BS and everything else, but when it comes down to it, you don't ever hear the champ, you know, Deontay Wilder talking about his injuries before the fight. Well, I'm not my best. I'm not 100%. And, you know, I broke my arm. I haven't really been throwing my right hand on the heavy bag. I haven't really been sparring with my right hand. He don't make mention of none of that. So him going into this fight with Tyson Fury, healthy, you know what I'm saying? Coming off that 7-round knockout of Luis Ortiz. You know, it's even speculation that Deontay Wilder truly didn't want to show everything he had with Luis Ortiz fight, being that he had Tyson Fury in the shoot. Take it for what it's worth. I was at the fight. He didn't use hardly any energy the first half of the fight. And you know, to hear the casuals once again jump on here in social media and say what? Oh, he lost the first 6 rounds. Who says you lost the first 6 rounds when the fight ended in knockout? Last call for alcohol. Who says you lost the first 6 rounds when the fight ends in knockout? When you in there with the fighter who has made it perfectly clear. Deontay says you have to be perfect 12 rounds, but for him, he only have to be perfect with what? 2 seconds, a heartbeat, a pulse. That's real. I think it took him less than a second. It may have been a second, a 1.5, 1.5 or whatever, when he landed that right hand on freaking Dominique Brazil. I mean, once again, you have to hear the punch and associate it with the visual. Hearing with the visual is devastating. But my prediction is, I would say Deontay in like 5-6 rounds. The reason why I'm giving it that long is because Tyson Fury is known to make the fight boring. He's known to stay on the outside of the ropes. That's what Tyson Fury does. That's how he won the belts off Vladimir Klitschko. He wasn't able to go in there and make changes enough to put rounds away for freaking Tyson Fury. But Tyson Fury is that guy. He's got the height. He's got the range. He's got the smarts. You know what I'm saying? He has the ring generalship to make the fight a very boring, tedious fight with the right opponent. But with Deontay Wilder, he's going to be coming forward. He's not going to be able to just walk around the ring and then come in and land combinations with an absolutely perfectly healthy Deontay Wilder. I mean, I just don't see it happening. And plus, him being a little bit fearful of the right hand this time around, having felt it. Hey, I think he's going to be very apprehensive and just coming in to an open door and believing that he can put the key in the combinations any way he feel like it, and he's going to unlock something special. That 2-round BS he's talking, that's nightmares, man. That's PTSD. That's PTSD, man. Stop playing with me. Look, Tyson Fury has freaking PTSD, man. Golden Man say that Brazil KO was vicious. It was, man. I mean, the press conference was vicious, but the ring walk was epic. And then, I still, once again, looking out there and seeing Dominique Brazil smile at the first combination. I think Wilder threw like a 3-punch combination, 3 or 4 punch combination of Dominique Brazil, and Brazil smiled at him like, "Oh, okay, I took your punch." Really, you look at the fight. He smiled and said, "I took your punch. I'm good. I'm good." And then Brazil landed a rapid punch behind the head. The referee broke the fighters up and then called action as the fighters closed. Deontay threw a touch jab out there. It might have been the blind too, like JD said, but he threw that damn left hand out there and came straight down the middle with that right. Listen, I ain't never seen a head survive a windmill. You can say what you want. I ain't never seen a head survive a windmill. That punch that he threw, the Dominique Brazil, Luis Ortiz, and I could say a little bit of the first Luis Ortiz fight. It was surgical. It wasn't a windmill. It was straight down the middle. It was on point, laser sharp, and it got the job done, people. Period. It got the job done. That's real. It was able to get the job done. Lastly, I want to talk about the lightweight division. What's going on with the Devin Haney's and Teofimo Lopez's and Lomachenko. Look, let's talk about Vasily Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez. That fight is not going to be an easy fight. No one is sitting up here saying it's going to be an easy fight, but for Teofimo to go in there once they make it. For us, the U.S. fans, we already been thrown to the wayside with the Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz fight being in Saudi Arabia. It wasn't even something that you can be on the edge of your seat for, to be over and pay all that money to go over there to Saudi Arabia just to enjoy a different type of scenery. I really hope the Teofimo Lopez fight is in NYC and not in Saudi Arabia as they are rumbling about. You know what I'm saying? I really hope it's in Teofimo's backyard a little bit so they can make some pretty good money. And we really want to see a throwdown. Serious. I mean, Teofimo has made it perfectly clear. He's called Lomachenko a bitch in public, on the mic, at the pressers, more than one occasion. But what I like about the Lopez's, they do not. I'm talking about Teofimo is one of the good guys of boxing. Him and his dad never waver from the process. And that process is letting you know how good his son is. Teofimo letting you know how good he is. They never falter from the entire scheme of maneuver. and that is win the championship. He won the championship. Now it's time to potentially unify in the 135-pound division. Now, just say, for instance, that Teofimo win the belts from Vasily Lomachenko, all right? Because he has the IBF belt. The only one missing out there is the WBC, which Vasily Lomachenko won in a vacated bout with Luke Campbell, right? So just say the WBO to WBA. Do you believe that Teofimo Lopez will fight for the WBC title so he can not only win his first championship in the lightweight division, but unify the division and become undisputed? I don't know if it's going to happen, because he's made serious indication that he's planning on moving up to junior welterweight. It's just becoming a problem for him to make weight. So he goes in there and faces Vasily Lomachenko, the fight everybody wants to see. He beats him. Will he face whoever has the belt? Devin Haney, whoever's going to fight for the vacated title. You know, we heard potentially Luke Campbell and Javier Fortuna. The same Luke Campbell that lost against Vasily when they fought for the vacant. And look, the Olympian Luke Campbell, he's not a walkover. He's not a bum. So if he's to fight Javier Fortuna, it'll be a very good fight. It's dependent on which Javier Fortuna shows up. The Javier Fortuna that fought Robert Easter, it's going to be a very exciting fight. I can tell you that. If the Javier Fortuna that fought Robert Easter shows up to fight Luke Campbell, if that fight happens, it's going to be a very exciting fight. Hands down, period. Roger says, as long as they give us more fights to see, I'm happy. We have the same thing to talk about for boxing. You know, boxing, being an annual sport full time, on the outside looking in, we just hope that they continue to make each year better than the last. We don't need a down period, a dead space, as they call it, in the sport of boxing right now. It's just too many. It's pretty decent divisions out there, more than one division that has competitive fights that we want to see. Welterweight, we definitely want to see that mix up with Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, and Manny Pacquiao. We want to see all that. And then we want to see the lightweight division. You know what I'm saying? The 140 division, I'm trying to figure out who's going to do what down there. I mean, I know it's champions down there, and then we have some potentials, coming up 130. Gervonta Davis now 135, of course, but we have, some lighter divisions. Just keep an eye on Joshua Greer Jr. He's down there. You got at featherweight, freaking Shakur Stevenson, the WBO champion. I would say the middleweight, whenever they decide to face one another. I mean, everybody wants Canelo Alvarez. Listen, y'all tell me, do you truly want to see Canelo Alvarez face Billy Joe Saunders? Come on, man. Y'all need to talk to me. Are you going to go to sleep saying, man, you know what? I want to see Canelo Alvarez and Billy Joe Saunders fight. Talk to me, man. Let me know. Is that a potential bout you want to see? Because I don't want to see Canelo Billy Joe Saunders, man. I would want to see him face somebody that's competitive, either at a higher weight class or another champion that's down here in the 160-pound division, if that's where he's going to fight. Jamal Charlo up there. Demetrius Andrade, everybody's calling out Canelo Alvarez, of course, because he's the cash cow. Now, besides that, you can't really look too heavy up in the super middleweight division. You can go if you really tune into boxing. You can go to light heavyweight. I don't know who's gonna fight who. I love to see those champions continue to unify. Better Beeve, his name. See him, dude is very talented. Oh my God, he's a problem. I would definitely like to see him go for the next title. I'm looking forward to seeing Caleb Plant step back in there. When I talked to him in MGM, he said he wanted to fight freaking David Benavidez because he don't like him. He's the easiest fighter in the division. We'll see how that works out. We'll see what's next for McCallum. Really, we need to see if any of that is gonna come to fruition. That's about it. In the heavyweight division, you know how that goes, man. I just talked about majority of the time the heavyweight division and what bouts that we have pending for these individuals, the top tier heavyweights. The Wilders, the Fury, Luis Ortiz, Anthony Joshua's, the Dillian Whites, whenever he gets his time. I know I kind of hear that Dominic Brazil is kind of getting back in the call out process. He's stepping up and getting into the trash talking carousel that's popping off. You know what I'm saying? Dillian White, he's recovered. He's getting back in the groove and saying, you know what? Y'all forgetting about me, man. Y'all must have forgot. I'm Trouble. Trouble Brazil is back in the building. So I'm curious to see who Dominic Brazil is going to step in there with, man. They've been talking about Eddie Hearns, and this is the last topic. I'm out. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, though. But I've been hearing that Eddie Hearns has offered 7 figures, supposedly, for Andy Ruiz to potentially face Dillian White. Now, I'm going to be a harsh critic on this particular fight. For Dillian White, okay, cool. Cool. Put him in there with somebody like Andy Ruiz. Cool. I get it. But right now, Andy Ruiz, man, he's just a disappointment. I think Andy Ruiz, in a lot of ways, supersedes Buster Douglas as a one-hit wonder. Real talk. I don't care if he's the first Mexican heavyweight. I believe that Buster Douglas didn't allow himself to be misrepresented the way Andy Ruiz did. Andy Ruiz had a country behind him. He was the first Mexican heavyweight. But why put yourself in a category of Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.? Why put yourself in a category as if you don't care about the sport or respect it? You was part of one of the biggest upsets. And then you return all pudgy, like you just been sipping on margaritas, the best top shelf margaritas, dipping a Snicker bar in there and goddamn having a good old time. I think he surpasses Buster Douglas as the one-hit wonder. Seriously. I was totally disappointed in Andy Ruiz. I really wanted this man to stay focused and be a threat. I was really hoping for one, when he had the belts, to go back in there and defeat Anthony Joshua and have a PBC event. He's with PBC. Deontay's with PBC. It would have been great to see a unification between them two. Why I say outside of Anthony Joshua? Because I was getting the impression that Andy Ruiz will want to fight Deontay Wilder quicker than Anthony Joshua. That's all I can say. But, he was a disappointment. And, when a fighter is disappointing to the point where he's saying, well, I let the fame get close to me. Consume me, and I'm not in the gym. That's just an excuse because there's a lot of fighters who've gotten paid money, but they have a whole nother sense of energy that they're tapped into, and that is to represent themselves and the people that support them. And I don't think Andy Ruiz actually gave a crap. Once he got the check, it was a wrap. It was a wrap for Andy Ruiz. Once he got the check, he ain't, I don't know if it's true, but his coach said he haven't been back in the gym. he might just be that little cuddly kid who gave it one shot, one kill, man. You know, period. But for those of you that's tuning in today, hey, Munguia called out Canelo. Okay, I can't let this question go. Jaime McGill, right? Look, I, a strange part of me when it comes to boxing, like Jaime McGill, okay? Because he's over there building up his resume. He's fighting, but yet he has so much to work on, but he's continued to fight. I like Jaime McGill as a boxer, man, him going out here and continue to stay active. I do, man. He's a weird, like, them fighters out of TJ, they come from a tough foundation, a tough background. Period. I've been over there. Jaime McGill has a lot to work on. This is not going to be a Canelo Alvarez stepping in there with a Floyd Mayweather. No, no, no. Canelo, in my opinion, unless he is being nice to the young warrior, showing Mexican love, representing the colors, I believe he can stop Jaime McGill. I don't care what people saying that Jaime McGill is tough. No, you can't say he's tough with the opposition he's been in there with. You know what I'm saying? You can't say that. But I do like his commitment to stay active. Seriously. Like, he has a lot to work on. He come forward, but that defense is lacking. He needs to really take ownership to his flaws and continue to improve that if he ever want to be competitive in a fight with Canelo Alvarez. Period. He cannot go in here with Canelo right now. Canelo is just on a whole nother stratosphere, man. Jaime McGill cannot do that, man. Beterbiev is a monster. Absolutely, man. Beterbiev is a problem. Beterbiev is exciting to watch, in my opinion. Beterbiev is exciting to watch. Seriously. You know, and I'm curious to see if he's ever going to talk about moving up. Because what's crazy is that the light heavyweight division, it has some pretty good fights in it, right? But then no one talks about the cruiserweight division. And when Alexander Usyk actually fight and get rid of those titles, then that division is going to be open for anybody that want to, you know, add another division to their collective resume. So we might see the light heavyweight move up. A lot of people don't know that cruiserweight resides in between light heavyweight and heavyweight. Good point, man. Canelo is not the franchise champion as well. He is undeniably the franchise champion. He is not the super champion anyway. They was able to promote Charlo up to the super WBC champion. You know what I'm saying? So Canelo is the sole franchise champion. He cannot lose that belt. If he loses to his opponent, he cannot lose his franchise belt. Now, the crazy corner, the crazy point to the sheet of requirements is that Mauricio Suleiman says something like, you cannot lose the belt, but yet you consider the undisputed. You can become the undisputed champion with the franchise belt, but you cannot lose the belt. So if you cannot lose the belt, how can you unify the division with the franchise belt when the super is out there? If Canelo doesn't fight Charlo, how can he be the undisputed champion? The same can go for Vasily Lomachenko. If he defeats Teofimo Lopez and he's a franchise champion, he cannot go up here and saying I'm undisputed at 135 and you don't have the super title. You chose to vacate that and be the franchise champion. So how can you be undisputed? That's just a food for thought, man. Correct. Canelo doesn't have to fight any mandatories as a franchise champion. But if you don't have to fight any mandatories, and as the WBC super champion, you are required to fight mandatories, then guess what? That's self-explanatory as to why a franchise champion is incapable of being unified, undisputed champion without the super belt. If you have no mandatories, what is this? Like, what is this? That franchise belt is almost like a badge of royalty. It's almost like a crown. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like a crown of hierarchy. It eliminates you or displaces a fighter from going through the usual protocols that are stipulated on a fighter. That's what the franchise belt does. It just allows a fighter to circumvent what has been in place for quite some time to make their own rules. You don't have to face mandatories, and furthermore, you can't lose your belt. So you good. You're good. Absolutely, you fine. You have no problem. You can't lose it. You go into a fight knowing that you're not going to lose your franchise belt. And why did it take for Canelo to be the first and then Vasily Lomachenko? Why hasn't freaking, Deontay Wilder, the longest reigning WBC champ, why wasn't he first and foremost located? Or why was he offered the franchise championship first? He should have been offered before Canelo. Because if you base an association to the title, well, guess what? I mean, come on, man. Did Canelo, how many times he defend that WBC? How many times did Vasily Lomachenko defend that WBC after he fought Luke Campbell? How many times, man? But people, it's been an absolute pleasure. Y'all need to pass the word about WCS, man. I'm going to be on here probably tomorrow talking about the Donald Cowboy Cerrone and notorious Conor McGregor. I have to switch lanes in combat sports and talk about my man Cowboy Cerrone, who's stepping in here with the former 2-division champion, featherweight lightweight, and Conor McGregor, the one who was able to go over to the sport of boxing as an 0-0 fighter and face TBE in the ring for I'm talking about several million, you know what I'm saying, dollars, only to return to the sport after not defending a single title to get subbed by Khabib Nurmagomedov in the 4th round. Now they're making such a big deal out there in Vegas this week. I believe it's UFC 246. And the main event is going to be Conor McGregor, who's lost twice already. And, Cowboy Cerrone has multiple losses, but he's one of the most active, experienced, winningest freaking fighters in the UFC. Extreme sport athlete. They're fighting this weekend. And believe me, I really wanted to go. I really wanted to go. But I just feel it might be quicker than what people think. I don't think Cowboy Cerrone is going to give us that Mike Perry armbar that he was trying to snatch. I knew Mike Perry would have problems on his way up because he just don't know when to be patient enough. He has all the heart. He has all the growl, so to speak, the bark. He has the viciousness. He has the mayhem associated with his fight game. But sometimes he just don't have all the skills it take to put it together to become a prominent fighter. Like, he's been stopped again. And I like Platinum Mike Perry, the way he go out there and get it done. But he need to take some time off and get back in the gym and make it happen a different way next time he shows up, just like Paul Felder had to do. Andrew Radford said, what about Devin Haney? I talked to Devin Haney's one of Devin Haney's people that was down here in Atlanta for the Gervonta Davis and Yukis Gamboa fight. And they say his shoulder's healing great. He's going to be back in the ring. I asked him about Devin Haney losing the title. And they say he didn't lose the title. I'm not sure what they meant by that, but I was like, so what exactly is going on? They say he's just in recess. I say, yeah, that's the same language that's being used, but what does that mean? He's in recess. When have we ever heard a fighter being in recess in boxing history? Like, name one of the greats. Was Sugar Ray Robinson? You know what I'm saying? Who was out there? Was Willie Pep on recess? Like, what are we talking about? Jack Johnson? Who's on recess, man? Jimmy Wild? Who's on recess, man? Hagler, Hearns, Leonard. I just want to know where this recess came in at for Devin Haney. And if an opponent, if a fighter's on recess, how can they still be considered a super champion if they're not in possession of the strap? Like, is this a virtual freaking connection that we have here? Like a wireless virtual title connection that we have? Like, you are the WBC, but it's transparent. You know what I'm saying? You don't hold the physical layer, okay? It's almost like the synapses gap. It's there, but it's transparent. I think that's what they're trying to convince us of right there, that Devin Haney is in recess. And it's a transparency that's connected, that's basically still linking him up as being the WBC title holder. But when we just look at him visually, we can't see it. But there's a virtual connection there. You know what I'm saying? The ping, when the ping goes out for WBC champion, right? In the lightweight division, somehow the TTL returns, and it gives us a TTL is you know, for those of you that's in communication and a little geeky, you know, that deals with internet protocols and IP configs and you know, configuring databases and stuff like that, bits and bytes. When the ping goes out and the TTL come back, the TTL is what the reply you get when you send out a ping to the distant end and they return it back to the host, the sender. So Devin Haney sends out a ping and the TTL comes back with Devin Haney, and also it comes back with whoever else that may have the belt. That's the only thing I can do. You know, it might send us back a response that we have a co-ownership of the title without it being an interim, a physical interim title. That's the only thing I can look at. You know, it may be a transparency there, just like a wireless network. You know, that's the only thing I can link that up to. You know, it's lit up, and they still trying to say the man is a freaking WBC title holder. He's just in recess. So I don't know, man. I don't know how that's working, but I'm pretty sure in upcoming months, when he's due to step back in the ring, we'll get a clearer picture, you know, of what's going on with Devin Haney. Yeah, Keith Thurman wasn't on recess. He was actually in a hiatus. But see, there you go again, you know, with the privilege. And that's a solid point. I tell people, you know, it's some input that can go down the live chat that people actually put some conducive freaking input in there. Mentioning Keith Thurman wasn't on recess, absolutely. Like, why didn't they, when Keith Thurman was out that long, why wasn't he basically, I don't want to say reprimanded, but why wasn't he appointed to say, guess what? We're going to put you on recess so we can get this title in vacated status and hurry up and get Danny Garcia and Sean Porter to fight for it. You know what I'm saying? We didn't hear that until, you know, he ended up having to vacate it after a certain time. He was already out the ring for quite some time. You know what I'm saying? But we all know that Devin Haney was on the doorstep of facing his mandatory. That is the reason why he should have vacated the title. But I guess they was doing him a favor for promoting him without ever fighting for the title. So he was able to defend the title once, and he was due to face his mandatory. But then when it came down to it, he got injured and they say, you know what, you can't face your mandatory, you're gonna be out, and we're gonna put you on recess. Who knows what the hell recess is in the boxing terminology in the handbook of the WBC? I don't know, but I can guarantee you, if I see him out there, the WBC president, I will ask him for y'all, because I've tried before, but he had too many people. He was in an interview, and it was already people in line. So I will get that question. I would say, since Devin Haney is healing up, he's due to step back in the ring. What are we going to see as far as him? Is he going to step back in the ring as just the former WBC or the interim WBC, the recess holder? What are we going to see from Devin Haney? That's what I'm going to ask him. You know, is he going to be the WBC super champion? What's the deal with that? I need some clarification. I need some answers. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly how I'm going to put it. Like, how will you introduce Devin Haney once he returns to the ring? Is he going to have the belt? Is he going to have half a belt? You know, is he going to have just the title, WBC, with no physical badge to that title? We don't know. Bad Boy said, "What's good, man?" Haney for tuning, Haney duck for tuning like a coward. Hey, I'm not sure why Haney would duck for tuna. It would be a very solid fight, but I know where you're getting at. I know where you're getting at. But you have to understand, boxing is a business first, and these fighters are all about trying to make a check with the top tier names. I get it. It's in contradiction of what I just said. I get it, man. Because you'll say, well, if that's the case, it's a boxing business first, and they always want a big name. Why do we have fighters out here just fighting people we ain't never heard of? Because the powers that be above them are making them fight mandatories and other fighters, man. I mean, it has nothing to do with the fighters themselves. They have limited power, man. These boxers have limited power to make the call to face the best that's in that class. That's why you have mandatories. That's why you have, you know, promoters, matchmakers. Bad Boy said, and should be arrested for beating up an elderly with one leg in Gamboa. Look, Gamboa is not an elderly by no means. I know it's kind of easy for the fight fans to consider the Cuban fighters as elderly, but yet y'all miss one intricate part in carrying that narrative across the pond to certain other individuals. Alexander Povetkin, he didn't get the same old adage when he stepped in there with freaking Anthony Joshua. You know what I'm saying? Dillian White, he's about to step in there with the old fighter. You know, if that's the case, it's plenty of old fighters that's up there in age, man, that doesn't get the same stigma placed upon them like Luis Ortiz. People want to say he's 50, 55 years old. You know what I'm saying? That's not true. Gamboa was very competitive in that fight, man. He showed a very durable beard. He really stayed in there, man. He took some heavy punches from Gervonta. Heavy punches. But I just don't like all the freaking, I had a freaking snap Achilles tendon and I still fought on. No, you didn't. Your Achilles tendon wasn't snapped. Your Achilles tendon was torn, potentially. They had an issue going on with his shoes. But for him to sit up here with a cast on and try to say, well, this is what I was working with. I went 10 rounds and I was hurt. Hey, man, it happens in boxing, man. You was hurt, but still you was in there trying to freaking knock Gervonta out, and you couldn't get it done. You was stopped in the 12th round, period, man. but I don't think he was an elderly with one leg, man. That's, you want to talk about a person having that's lacking one limb. You can say freaking Jose Benavidez at that time when he fought Terrence Crawford. The man was shot in the leg multiple times. That's a bad situation. That's a bad situation, man. Shit. That's a bad situation. Who you talking about, Sid? Who you talking about? You talking about Jeison Rosario? You talking about Julian Williams and Jeison Rosario? That's gonna be a good fight, man. I was talking about that early in the broadcast. That's gonna be a good fight. Yeah, Jeison Rosario. Hey, Jeison Rosario, man. Like I had up here earlier. Hold on for a second. If you look at the banner that's across there, right? You have. Let me put it up there. Yeah, Julian Williams is 27-1, 16 knockouts, and Jeison Rosario 19-1 with 13 knockouts. And you have the IBO, the IBF, and the WBA title that's on the line from Julian Williams, what he took from Jarrett Hurd. You know what I'm saying? Jarrett Hurd is on his way back in the ring too. But I like this matchup because it has a lot of credibility to it. Both fighters have one loss. Rosario has one loss, one draw, 13 KOs. Only 3 KOs separate both fighters. I'm really looking forward to this fight, man. I like Julian Williams, the way he looked against Jarrett Hurd. Very solid fighter when it comes to the sport of boxing. The sweet signs, being technically, I don't know, technically educated. The way he was seeing everything with Jarrett Hurd. The one who was considered a weight bully that was used to marching forward. Julian Williams never allowed Jarrett Hurd to boss him around in there. Never allowed him to even think that he was in control of the fight. The shots he was landing on Jarrett Hurd, the combinations, it seemed like his eyes was just peeled. They was zoomed in. His optics, man, he saw everything Jarrett Hurd was coming with. Very good fight, man. Yeah, I'm hearing good things about Jeison Rosario, man. Do I think he's gonna go in there and beat Julian Williams? I don't think so. Because the one commonality that these fighters have is they face Nathaniel Gallimore. The only loss on Jeison Rosario's record is Nathaniel Gallimore, who Julian Williams has a win against. And that was a good fight. That was a good fight. Jeison Rosario lost to Nathaniel Gallimore in 2017. Besides that, any notable fighters that stands out, he beat Jamonte Clark. You know what I'm saying? Jamonte Clark, in my opinion, went in there and did very well against Sebastian. You know what I'm saying? What was that fighter name? That tall fighter, the one loss, Sebastian Fundora. The last fight that Jamonte Clark had with Sebastian Fundora, man, it was an amazing fight. I liked it. Seriously, I liked that fight right there. And I thought, hands down, Jamonte Clark defeated Sebastian Fundora. So I was just making a point of that. But Jamonte Clark, he may have had that, I don't know, Julian Williams growth in him to face that adversity and then come back and have a better fight with Sebastian Fundora. Seriously, Sebastian Fundora is a problem, and the fight strategy that he applied to Sebastian, man, the tall, rangy, lanky fighter. Oh man, it was beautiful to watch. It was beautiful. Seriously, it was a beautiful fight. Two highly skilled technicians, tall, you know what I'm saying? Fall on the inside, the outside, nice countering. Them left hooks, boy. But yeah, Rosario, I think it's gonna be a solid fight. Two boxers. And we'll see. We'll see if it turns out anything like Errol Spence and Sean Porter, or be a sleeper to kick off 2020. We'll see, man. We're looking for that. We eager to see that this year. Seriously, that's what we want to see. Kid on 24 years old with nothing to lose. He's going all out. He got something to lose, though. I understand what you're saying, Sid. He got something to lose, though, because he don't want to take another L right now. Because he just don't. He just don't want to take another L right now. You know what I'm saying? He may be 19-1, but where this kid is trying to go, you know how the Dominican Republics are. The DR fighters. Sometimes they do go all or nothing. But this guy is obviously trying to build up his resume to fight a big name. And if I'm looking at his record, he's on a 7-fight win streak. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, he's on a 7-fight win streak, man. Jorge Cota was his last fight in April 2019. Split decision. So it's been a minute before he faced Jamonte Clark. Jamonte Clark, undefeated at the time too, man. Yep. Yeah, there was a draw against Fedora, but he beat Fedora. They gave it a draw because they didn't want to take that O off Fedora's record. Fundora. Seriously, why, man? Anybody watch the fight will tell you, man. Jamonte Clark, he showed up that night. He showed up that night. He doesn't have an 8-fight win streak. He has a 7-fight win streak. A draw isn't a win. He has a 7-fight win streak. He lost to Nathaniel Gallimore, had a 2-fight win streak, got a draw, and then he reeled off 5 more. That's 7. 5 plus 2 is 7. But it's no big deal, man. It's all good. Golden Mass says J-Rock wants to defend those titles, so he's gonna be ready. All in all, it should be a good fight. Yeah, we can both agree on that. And I would say this, that J-Rock is going to be in his hometown for that fight in Philly. So it's going to be tough to extract that momentum, to pull that momentum from J-Rock, that energy, because he's feeling good right now. He's a unified champion. He's at the top of the pinnacle, not just with 1 title, but 3. Man, the man's having his first title defense in his hometown, Philly. That's going to be huge, man. It's going to be rocking over there. Jeison Rosario, man, he's going to have an uphill battle. But you're talking about a DR fighter. Them guys are tough, man. You know how many DR fighters have to go in the backyard of another fighter and fight? Hey, man, it happens all the time. Those fighters are tough, man. Mad respect for them cats. They tough, man. Man, it's no way I can go against Canelo against Billy Joe Sanders. No way. Billy Joe Sanders, man, to me, nah. I'm just not a fan. I don't have no ill will towards him. I just hope he doesn't resort back to driving around and acting like he's selling crack and all this other stuff Billy Joe Sanders was doing when he was at 160. It's funny how you can leave 160 and then move up to 168. How is he even in the equation for a title? Luckily, Gilberto Ramirez moved up to light heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? Because Gilberto Ramirez would have gave Billy Joe Sanders problems. Yeah, man. Philly is a huge boxing. Absolutely. It's going to be rocking over there. Sanders looks like, the guy that's first at the bar and the last to leave on the stretcher because he's intoxicated like I don't know what. He just looks like that guy. But hey, it is what it is, man. He did what he had to do, man. And I didn't see too much repercussions from it. He even left one division and go up to super middleweight, man. I mean, come on, man. How is that possible? With all the stuff that was going on with him. And then he popped positive. Then he popped dirty. You know what I'm saying? Then Billy Joe Sanders popped dirty. What is going on with this, man? But anyway, people, it's been a pleasure. Be sure to follow me on all social media network. Facebook, Twitter, IG. Follow me on IG and subscribe to the channel, y'all. I'll be coming on here more often. You know what I'm saying? And talking about, like I said before, later on this week, I will be crossing over to my mixed martial arts genre of combat sports reporting and talking about, the big fight, of course, but just going through the fight card and some of the mix-ups that's going over in the UFC. Dominique Cruz is thinking about returning, one of the most injury-prone fighters of mixed martial arts, but one of the better fighters. At one time, he was considered the best bantamweight champion, but he's been out since 2016, I think. I mean, he gets injuries all the time. But be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and pass the word, y'all. I appreciate the input tonight. I want to have more discussions like this. I'll definitely be back on this week, probably tomorrow and Friday. And y'all pass the word, man. But the next time I'm on here, it will be about mixed martial arts. So I know a big part of my my audience probably is boxing. So if you know some mixed martial artists or mixed martial art astutes, aficionados, man, tell them to join in on the podcast. You know what I'm saying? Join in so we can talk about kicks, subs, elbows. Let's talk about Tony Ferg and Khabib the Nurmagomedov. Who's going to take that fight? Is Conor McGregor going to face another loss back-to-back, or he's going to go ahead and finish freaking Cowboy Cerrone so we can potentially see him face Jorge Masvidal in a BMF title or whatever the case they got going on? Because I sure don't want to see Conor McGregor go in there and face Kamaru Usman. I don't want to see that. I would rather see him go in there and face Jorge Masvidal in his next fight, or see Jorge Masvidal face Kamaru Usman, the current welterweight champion. That's what I want to see. And then we'll talk about all the other potential matchups that's in the featherweight division and the lightweight. I just heard Alexander Volkanovski, who's the new featherweight champion, say he really don't want to face Max Holloway for a rematch because it wasn't even close. That's savage, y'all. That's savage. The man say, why would I want to face the former champion and taking his title? It wasn't even close. I get it, man. I get it. But y'all take it easy. Be sure to turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports.